Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm Craig.
And you're watching Media Crush. In today's episode, we're going to give you a wrap-up of a few of this summer's most famous blockbusters.
Media Crush. Media Crush.
And we're going to start you off with Mad Max Fury Road, directed by George Miller, starring Charlize Theron, Tom Hardy, and Nicholas Hoult.
Mad Max Fury Road is the continuation of the original Mad Max trilogy, directed by the same director, George Miller.
The actor who played the villain in Fury Road also played the villain in the original Mad Max.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What's his name in these?
I don't know. You threw me with a curveball.
Sorry.
Oh yeah? What's his name then? Immortan Joe. What a day! What a lovely day! Immortan Joe. Mad Max Fury Road, like all the other Mad Max movies, is about a post-apocalyptic world and the protagonist trying to survive. This particular story has to do with Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, and her main goal is to take all of the protagonists, Immortan Joe's wives, out of the situation they're in.
I thought, she did a really good job. I almost thought that she overshadowed Mad Max.
Oh yeah, that's a main consensus of most Mad Max fans.
Mm-hmm.
There was jokes before the movie came out that it was going to be called Mad Maxine. But yeah, she played a really great character. I wouldn't mind seeing sequels on just that character alone, or even prequels.
Yeah, she was a really interesting character. She actually has a bionic arm.
Yeah.
Which is even cooler. A thing I liked about it was that the beginning of the movie is kind of like a prologue for those that haven't seen the other ones. I feel like the prologue in the beginning was there for two reasons. One being because it's to introduce the characters to a new audience, because it's been 30 years since the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
And also to kind of give the audience a chance to catch their breath before the insane high-octane action of the movie.
Which is famously all done in practical effects.
Mm-hmm. It's like 90%.
Yeah. Also, in my opinion, it's a good way to actually hear Mad Max talk, because the rest of the movie, he kind of just grunts.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think that, I don't know about you, but I think this has some of the best, cinematography.
Oh, yeah.
And, car chases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched another video where a guy talks about the way the camera angles are so that the director could direct the audience the way he wanted, from left to right to center, things like that, which I thought was really cool.
Cool. I also read an article that said it was going to be originally shot in black and white.
Really?
Which...
That would have been weird.
Yeah. Because the backgrounds are so colorful. They use a lot of oranges and blues and yellows.
There's actually a trailer you could watch here on YouTube. The trailer is done in black and white.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
One of the coolest things I also like about the movie was the music. And I'm not just talking about that crazy guy playing guitar. I'm talking about the soundtrack. I thought it was just as high octane as the action itself.
It really added to it. You could actually hear the thing is, in Immortan Joe's motorcade, or whatever you call it.
Pretty much.
Motorcade?
Yeah.
He actually has people hanging on to trucks playing drums and stuff, and you could actually hear that. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I like how if the character's looking off in the distance of his motorcade, you hear the music real low,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll do a cut to it up close, and then it's like louder.
Yeah.
What do you think about some of the characters, some of the side characters, like Nicholas Holt's character?
I thought he was he played it really well. Like he was really multi-layered.
Mm-hmm.
I would consider it because he plays one of Immortan Joe's minions.
What'd you think of the performances of the supporting actors, like Nicholas Holt's character?
I actually really liked him. I thought he gave a really multi-layered performance.
Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen Mad Max yet, it is out on Blu-ray and DVD, so go ahead and check that out.
In fact, check it out after this video. It's that good. Next we have Marvel's Avengers Age of Ultron, which is the second movie in the Avengers series.
Which takes part in the phase 2 of the 3 phases of this Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Still shaken up, Tony Stark ends up building a artificial intelligence to shield the world from evil. As you can guess, this goes not as planned. This summer blockbuster has an all-star cast starting with Robert Downey Jr.,
Iron Man.
Chris Hemsworth,
Thor.
Mark Ruffalo,
The Hulk.
Chris Evans,
Captain America.
Scarlett Johansson,
The Black Widow.
Jeremy Renner,
Hawkeye.
and even some new characters. Elizabeth Olsen as,
Scarlet Witch.
and Aaron Taylor Johnson as.
Quicksilver.
It even has the voice talents of James Spader.
Ultron.
And of course, Paul Bettany as.
Jarvis.
What I liked about this film, I don't know about you, but I thought it built very nicely on the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it introduced some new characters, which is always good.
Yeah. I really liked how you got to see the team finally coming together, and you could kind of tell that they all experienced each other's strengths and weaknesses and were able to play on that. Like some of the scenes with Black Widow and Hulk, you could see that the Black Widow really supported the Hulk and how she could calm him down.
Mm-hmm. The whole first half of the first movie, they were like fighting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of cool to see them like come together in this one.
Yeah. I felt that some of the action sequences were a little bit over the top. It seemed like they were really trying to one-up themselves from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely had action sequences that would make a teenage version of myself very happy. But as someone who's evolved as a moviegoer, I thought that it took away from like character development and story.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the story took a backseat from the action, basically.
I felt that too. Of course, it was a while ago since I saw it. But also, from the trailers, I thought it was going to be like a darker movie than it was. Because James Spader, Ultron, has like several jokes.
Mm-hmm. Which I thought was a really great part of the movie, was the sense of humor of the villain.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And I love how the movie kind of sets up for the Civil War, the Captain America Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Because you kind of see how people are taking sides. Because in Civil War, it's basically like the government versus the superheroes, and the Superhero Registration Act, which has the superheroes registering so that they can be held accountable for, like the first Avengers movie, how they destroyed the city.
If you missed this movie in theaters, Avengers Age of Ultron comes out October 2nd on Blu-ray and DVD. Our next movie is one we've already talked briefly about. It's Jurassic World, starring Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard.
Like Mad Max, this is the fourth movie of another trilogy, the Jurassic Park trilogy.
Jurassic World takes place a couple decades after the first movie, and now it's under new management and is a functional theme park. Chris Pratt plays a former Navy SEAL that is a raptor trainer at the park. In order to keep park attendance up, they keep inventing new breeds of dinosaurs. In this one, they genetically engineer a dinosaur called the Indominus Rex.
Which, like I said, in most movies, plans never go according to plan.
Mm-hmm.
And chaos ensues.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like this movie that much, probably because I had so much expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like the first one was the greatest movie of the 90s. So I thought, the way movies are coming out these past couple of years, it seems like they really put a lot into it.
Yeah.
And I thought this movie was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be, the next big thing. Although it had a lot of cool action sequences and a lot of cool deaths, I just didn't really like how, I don't know, maybe I wasn't invested in characters as much.
Yeah.
And in the first Jurassic Park, you really get into the characters.
Mm-hmm. See, I felt the exact opposite of you. I felt there were really awesome homages to the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked Chris Pratt's character. I did think he wasn't as humorous as in Guardians, but in that situation, I don't think it would be warranted.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is directed by a relative newcomer named Colin Trevorrow, whose previous effort was Safety Not Guaranteed, which was like a small budget movie about time travel.
Which, if it was on Netflix, it would be my Netflix pick.
Yeah. So it was really cool to see him take on something bigger. Another thing I liked is that you could really tell that the actors are actual fans of the franchise. I read an article that said Chris Pratt actually went on opening day to Jurassic Park.
I like how, speaking of fans of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
I like how in the control room, one of the characters is wearing a Jurassic Park t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was one of the funniest parts.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually the comic relief of the movie, I think.
Yeah, what's his name? I forget his name too. He's in the TV series New Girl. He plays Nick.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Which is one of my favorite characters of that TV show.
If you want to own this movie, it's available on Blu-ray and DVD October 20th.
Next up, we have Ant-Man, which was a movie that caught me off guard. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. It stars Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Michael Pena, and Evangeline Lilly. This movie follows one of the Avengers' lesser-known team members, Ant-Man, who in the comics was Hank Pym, who is played by Michael Douglas. But in this movie, he's kind of like the retired scientist who created the Hank Pym particle, or in the movie, the Pym particle, which helps the character shrink. This story of Ant-Man follows Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, who is a recovering thief who gets pulled back into the game of thievery by Hank Pym.
Unlike the way the movie caught you off guard,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those movies for me that is enjoyable when you first watch it, but then, afterwards I was, kind of scrutinizing it. First of all, I thought Paul Rudd as Ant-Man was the wrong choice. I don't think he's really superhero material. And, did you know he co-wrote the script?
Mm-mm.
I felt that there were, some misses in comic timing.
Mm-hmm.
Just his character was, very dull.
Mm-hmm.
And, when he made jokes and stuff, they were, hit or miss.
So, The way you felt about Paul Rudd's character is how I felt about Chris Pratt's character in Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
One of the few things I liked about the movie was that Paul Rudd has a friend played by Michael Pena, who is also a thief, and like he has he's like one of those characters that has ADD all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and like talks super fast.
He plays kind of like Paul Rudd's fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
He loves and looks up to his career as a thief.
I think he actually would have made a better Ant-Man than Paul Rudd would have.
Really?
Or Paul Rudd did.
One of the things I liked about the movie is how you have this huge Marvel universe, and how all these superheroes have to take on these big epic battles to save the world, but Ant-Man takes on this small little situation, which also in turn saves the world in some way or another.
Yeah.
But he does it in the fashion of Ant-Man being small. He kind of takes on this smaller situation. And I like how they do mention the Avengers. Paul Rudd's character talks about how they should just call the Avengers to take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. One of the favorite things I like about this is the history they go into with Hank Pym, about how he created this thing and how S.H.I.E.L.D. was going after this Pym particle. And he protected it because he didn't want to see it as a weapon used for the military. Also like how they show his relationship with his wife, who plays Marvel's The Wasp. And I like just seeing the tragic story and how it unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like about the Marvel Universe itself is the small little scenes they have about the history of, and like the origins of all these superheroes and stuff. Like when they would go and talk about like Tony's dad and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And even the first Captain America is all about the origins of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that.
Yeah. One thing that got me to see it was that I was really disappointed about. I read an article that said Joss Whedon thinks that Ant-Man is the best script since Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into thinking that like it was going to be super hilarious and have that same comic timing that it did. So that's one thing that really disappointed me. Also, this movie has a lot of history of controversy. Did you know this actually was originally going to be directed by Edgar Wright?
Oh, right, the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost movies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, like, this movie actually took, I think, 10 years to make, so, and then Edgar Wright had a falling out with Marvel, and I think in the original concept of the movie, Simon Pegg was going to be, play the character of Ant-Man.
Really?
Yeah. I think it would have been like a different movie entirely if they picked him.
For sure.
Um,
You can see Nick Frost playing Michael Pena's character.
mhm.
So when's this movie come out on Blu-ray?
It actually doesn't have a release date yet.
Oh, okay.
But I think that if you're a fan of the Marvel Universe, you should at least rent it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I would agree with you. I think if you're a fan of movies in general, it's a good watch.
Yeah. Our last summer movie we're going to talk about is Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation, which stars Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, Jeremy Renner, and Ving Rhames. It's about MIF operative Ethan Hunt and his continuing adventures. In this installment, Ethan Hunt has to take down an anti-IMF, which consists of all the thought to be dead operatives.
Now, this is one of the summer blockbusters I haven't seen yet. Is there anything that you would tell someone like me to try to make us see the movie?
Well, first of all, the thing I like about these movies is that they've either gotten better with each installment or stayed consistent.
Mm-hmm.
This one has very cool stunts. I would say it's my second favorite in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Just first being Ghost Protocol.
And that was the third one?
That was the fourth one.
Fourth one.
I think my favorite stunt in the whole franchise is the stunt in Dubai where he has the gloves that stick to the wall.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that in the trailer.
Yeah.
So, Ethan Hunt is pretty much the American James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I really like the fact that they, in the fourth movie, they introduced Benji, which is played by Simon Pegg,
Mm-hmm.
which adds which adds more comic relief than Tom Cruise.
So I got a question for you.
What's that?
If James Bond, Jason Bourne, Jack Ryan, and Ethan Hunt were in a room and they had to fight each other, who would win?
Let's see. I would think it'd be down to James Bond and Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. But I'd say James Bond would take it.
Probably because he's been on more missions.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting about this franchise is that each film is like directed by a different director.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of see their vision of what the franchise could be like.
Yeah.
Like this one is directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote the script for The Unusual Suspects with Kevin Spacey.
Oh, okay.
The last one was directed by Brad Bird. So you can see the evolution through the different directors.
Mm-hmm.
Evolution of the franchise.
Does this movie have a release date?
No, it doesn't yet, but it came out July 30th in theaters, so you should still be able to see it.
Okay.
And this is the part of the show where we give you our Netflix recommendations.
Mine is The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. It's a Korean remake of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. One of the cool things about this movie is how insane it is. And the characters are great, so go ahead and check that out.
My pick is Nightcrawler, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. He plays kind of like a loner,
Mm-hmm.
who is kind of like a petty thief. Like in the beginning of the film, he steals copper for the money, and he ends up seeing like a car accident on the side of the road, and thinks he can film that, like for the TV news.
Mm.
Yeah, and the dialogue is like so great.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the best I've ever.
If you want to win the
Right.
lottery, you got to make the money to buy a ticket.
Yeah, that's my favorite line. And if you're watching this and you're a journalism major, it's something you should check out.
That has been your Media Crush for today, and we'd like to thank the 26 subscribers. And please give us a subscribe, it helps us out, and give us a like. And we would encourage you to send us a comment below telling us what you thought about the episode and what we could improve on. We want to make this channel better for you.
Media Crush.